Thank you for joining us for the virtual information session for our brand new MSN in Informatics program, program that we've been very excited for and are happy to announce that, we're admitting our incoming cohort for the fall of 2023. My name is Tom Crash. I'm the Director of Graduate Admissions, and I'll be your host for tonight. The event should take probably around 30 minutes or so. So whether you're watching live or you're watching the recording, this will be a great opportunity for you to preview your experience in the MSN and Informatics program. But before we go any further, Dr. Metzger, would you introduce yourself?
Sure, thanks, Tom. My name is Dr. Lori Metzger. I am the Program Director for the MSN Informatics. I have been at Bloomsburg University, which is now Commonwealth University, but I've been here as an educator for 18 years and had a long practice before that. And so I'm really excited to start the new program. I think it's a great opportunity for nurses out there. It's really a nice niche that we have and we're able to fulfill now. I also direct the MSN MBA, so this is just a really great addition to our graduate program. So I'm happy to join you all tonight.
Yes, great. And again, if anybody has any questions, whether you're watching live or watching the recording, please do not hesitate to contact Dr. Metzger or myself. We are certainly happy to help. I want to go ahead and share my screen and we can kick off the presentation here. So first off, why the MSN Informatics? Probably everyone who's looking at this program is currently a working nurse. They're going to be giving up some free time. This is going to be a lot of work and effort. What's in it for them? Why this field?
So I think one of the issues about why the MSN in nursing informatics that I think of is technology is so well infused into what we do as nurses. No longer can we separate, as a practicing nurse, can we separate clinical care and technology? It just can't be done. But while we're creating these great technological systems, we can't really say, hey, I'm a nurse and I'm focused on this. I don't understand what all that tech does. And we can't say that anymore because we really do need to know. And even if, the older gal in the room here can learn it, I know that the up and coming nurses certainly can. And what you can do with that and move that forward, what you can do with all this information you're collecting and make that information work for you. Right. And also protect your patient's information as well. So I'm excited about it because I just don't think we can separate it anymore. And I think it's great to have this specific degree to make you an expert and specialist in that field.
Yeah, this is a program, it seems like it's kind of on the cutting edge. Like you can see
Absolutely.
The wave, I just got back from vacation, so I'll use a beach analogy, but you can see the wave starting, right? But it's not even close to getting to the top yet. So as a prospective student considering this program, again, you're hitting this at the right time. So that's good to know. So then the program overview, what can student expect? What is their student experience going to be like?
Okay, so the program overview, we do start all of our graduate nursing students with a core, and we're going to talk about the curriculum in the next slide. And so you do have this 9 credits of core information, and then your focus is 18 credits of information technology and cybersecurity. So you're going to really get the bulk of your degree in those 6 courses. And so when you do that, then you're going to be able to put that into practicum courses. We have longer courses, they're 6 credits. And what you do is you get to actually do hands-on projects. We'll get you connected with a preceptor and you will work through that. And like I said, I'll talk a little bit more about that next slide, but you will work through a project with them. So you're going to take all that information that you've learned and use it in practical application. The nice thing about it is that it is 100% online and it is 39 credits. So this is very doable for anybody while you're working. And I say that as somebody, I worked full-time through my master's degree and full-time through my PhD. So I get it. I know what it's like to have to work and go to school. But this is possible. And I think you're able to, after you get a few classes underneath your belt, you're able to really see the light at the end. And so you can work towards that. So you can do it full-time in 2 years. You can go part-time and stretch it out over a little bit longer because it's flexible coursework. Like I said, I've worked and gone to school at the same time. So we built a curriculum that had that in mind with nurses. Some courses are asynchronous, those kinds of things. So we really do work, I hate to say with the working nurse, but we do that kind of thing, because we want to make that work for you for sure. The other really great thing about this program is, unlike, say, a nurse practitioner or a nurse anesthetist, which appropriately so requires clinical experience before you apply. I mean, those high acuity kinds of roles need that kind of thing. But this one, because we're focusing on the technology, you can go straight from your BSN to your MSN. You don't even have to wait. So if you graduate with your BSN in May, then you can start in August. If that's something you want to do. I do find that some of our younger generation, they want to just keep right on going. They don't want to get out of that mindset of school. And I can appreciate that. So that is all there. And we are fully CCNE accredited. And so as a nursing program, you are coming from an accredited program for that. And we have quite an array in our graduate nursing program, but this is the new one that we're adding, and we're happy to do that. And so I'm excited about the program.
So one of my questions is, if you're a prospective student, that has a BSN, you're looking at this and you're seeing 18 credits of information technology courses, what is kind of the minimum expectation of, like, what level of familiarity do you need to have with technology to be able to get into this program and be successful? I'm assuming you're probably not doing coding or anything like that, but what are some of the things you might be looking for?
No, we're not. But really, nurses coming from an undergraduate program, you have probably already worked with an electronic health record. And because you worked with an electronic health record, you are on your way. Because now what we're going to do is break down the analytics of those programs and other programs, not just that, scheduling programs and some other things, to really know what they can tell us so that we can improve patient care. We improve it for the patient and we improve it for the provider, which would be the nurse, the physician, the respiratory therapist, whomever in the team. But those courses are really going to teach you about cybersecurity, healthcare analytics. What does it mean? How can you, how do you, whether you're not coding to actually build it, but how do you work with your, your providers like Epic or Cerner or something like that to say, hey, we want, as nurses, this is important. My nurses need X, Y, and Z in order to look at acuity or staffing or whatever it is, because now you have the knowledge to ask those kinds of questions as what you want in a product. And nurse informaticists lead that way.
Yeah, excellent. And so you talked about, the courses and the program is built for working nurses. What are the normal, what days of the week are people taking classes? What are the normal times for classes? Any details you can provide about that, what their schedule might look like?
Sure. Well, really, the schedule is yours. So the first 9 credits are 3 classes that are core. They are all 100% online and asynchronous. So you don't have to be anywhere at any particular time. This is on yours. Now, the faculty do hold office hours at certain times, but we all answer. I mean, for myself, I can honestly say I do. When the semester is running, I'm on email every day. So you can always email us a question. You don't have to wait for the office hour. But thanks for advancing the slide, Tom. This is great. So the first 3, which is role development, concepts in epidemiology and population health, and advanced nursing practice for research, all of those are online asynchronous. Okay. And then when you move in, that you need to do those first. And then when you move into the bulk of the informatics, you can see them here. It's informatics, managing projects, analytics, strategic information, cybersecurity. These are 100% online. And there are times that you are going to have to be synchronously in class will be announced ahead of time, but it's really not every week in most of those classes. So it is kind of a touch point as you go through the semester. And so they will all be announced ahead of time. And they know that this is a graduate course, and so they will be later in the day. And so what I would always tell students is you need to be really upfront with your professor when you start and say, hey, look, I'm a night shift person, or they'll understand and they'll work with you on that. So that if there's a certain time that you need to have a synchronous session, they'll try to make sure that's there for everyone, because these are not large classes. These are not classes of 40 and 50 students. And that's the nice thing too. So that if you need to adjust some times or make something work, I find that this INFT program, the department that we work with, I personally know the chair, Dr. Carolyn Lamacchia, and she is wonderful to work with. So she will be my partner in crime. So if you have any questions about, like, I'm trying to schedule the Managing Innovations and Projects course, but I can't get in, and you send an email to me, I'm going to email Dr. Lamacchia, and trust me,
Yeah,
we will make it work. She
yeah,
understands the graduate student as well. She really does. She's wonderful to work with, and she is a data person. She loves data. I do too. But on her analytic side, she understands it a little bit better than I do. But then I understand the nursing side, so it really does work. So then,
yeah.
go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry. Well, so as you're looking at the courses, what are some of the differences that students can expect? Like, what are the differences between BSN and undergraduate degree courses and some of the master's degree courses that they'll be taking in this program? Is it more reading, more writing, more research, more time? Like, what are some of the noticeable differences?
Well, typically, that's a great question. Typically, in a graduate program, there is more reading. There's more independence for you to achieve the objectives in the class. There is less testing. So students always like to hear that. This is not take some information and take a 50-question test or something like that. So it is more projects, assignments, discussion boards, because this is online. So discussion boards are a huge thing. That's the way we kind of pull you together as a class, or working on a project or a paper as a concluding assignment in a project. So in a course rather. So this is really how we do graduate study. There will be less of that, here is an amount of information and then there's an exam on it. You demonstrate your knowledge through the assignment, through the discussion board, through the paper, whatever it may be.
Excellent. Great. Thank you.
Sure. The last two courses that are on here, after you do that, you come back to nursing. And so we have one here, the organizational behavior for nursing. We are really looking at, for nurses, we really want you to be on a nurse unit. Both of these are 6 credit classes. So this management organizational behavior for nursing administration is a 6 credit class with 180 practicum hours that you do. So what you're going to do is identify a place where you want to work. I make sure you have a contract to do that. I take care of that place, that on the admin side. And then you're going to go ahead and work with your preceptor. I will talk with your preceptor. I'll have a meeting with you and your preceptor and those kinds of things. You will establish your project, and then create objectives. And that's what I'm going to hold you to, meeting those objectives with that. But we're in conversation all the time. In this course, we usually meet, I would say 2-3 times throughout the semester as a class. So we meet all together as a class. And really, I don't have a time listed. When you go to register this course, you're not going to see it because I understand the working nurse. So I put it out to my students and I say, hey, we need to meet next week or the week after. Find me a time. And I've had students say, look, we can't meet until 8 o'clock at night. And I'm like, I'm game if you want to go from 8 to 9:30. And I'm perfectly okay with that. So our focus here in the first one is really looking at informatics, a system for one unit. Okay, so we're kind of keeping that in that area so that we can look at more of the analytics specific to that unit and so on and so forth. When we get to the next one, it's again a 6 credit class, 180 hours of practicum. You're going to do the same thing. We'll find another preceptor and you will go ahead and establish a product or a project with objectives. And that's what we'll hold to. But your focus here now needs to be across a healthcare delivery system. So whether this is multiple units that you would be looking at, so maybe it's one product like an Epic or some other Cerner documentation or something like that. Maybe it's one product that you're looking at over multiple units, or maybe it's over a service line. So maybe you're looking at how an electronic health record can provide you for all of the information that you need in an OR where your patient is transitioning and moving. And how is that working? But you're looking at a system that has an OR in 3 different hospitals. Yep. Maybe one larger one, 2 community hospitals. And so now your project extends. And so at the end, what you have to place on your resume are 2 significant projects that you can go now when you apply for your job as a nurse informaticist and say, look, I've already done this work, and you have practical application of work. So that's how the curriculum is set up. It kind of starts with nursing. We put the whole piece in here that's specific to informatics, where you will be in class with students who are not all nurses. Okay, and that's really great interprofessional learning. It makes you think about things in a different way and different viewpoints. It's how I did my PhD, and it's great. And then you come back to nursing, but we're going to put you in a practical application in a field. So, does anybody have any questions about that?
No, and that's great information, but you'll get perspective from being people, with people from outside the field.
Oh,
and I'm
yeah.
sure that you as a nurse will be able to provide perspective that they might not get otherwise.
Absolutely.
In IT. So it is kind of a symbiotic relationship there.
Yep.
No, I think that's really interesting. Are there any specific technical capabilities that you can think of that students should need to know to use? Is it truly as simple as like you need to know the Microsoft Word suite or the Microsoft Office suite, know to use Google products and anything?
Yeah, it really can be, if we want to call it simple, because you will learn to use those products in new ways. So you'll use Excel in a way that you probably haven't used Excel before. But if you have a Microsoft Word, whether you have a PC or a Mac, if you have the whole Microsoft, Publisher, Excel, Word, all those kinds of things, and Google Docs, because Google Docs is a great way to work collaboratively. So if you're working with a partner, since you're not in class together and you're online, Google Docs is great. It's in real time. It's how I work with my colleagues. We're writing a paper or something together, and because we're working at the same time and we don't need to be in the room together. So really, there is nothing additional that you are going to need. If you get into a class that requires a different data set, they're going to give you access to that.
Gotcha.
So you don't need to purchase anything or whatever. You do need a computer that is running well, probably a little bit newer. It doesn't have to be brand new, but you want something that's going to be able to respond for you and have the Microsoft Office and have a Google account so that you can get into Google Docs. And a webcam, and that will set you up really well, actually.
Which basically every basic laptop comes standard with all of those software programs you're talking about, all that tech. Like, you're not really buying anything special. You also mentioned something that I think that is really important and really drives home the importance of that phrase, like built with the working nurse in mind, which is, kind of cliche. You probably hear that frequently, but just as an example. So those bottom two courses where you're basically doing practicums, right? We have a lot of other grad programs at Commonwealth U where in order to complete the degree, you basically, if you are working full time, it's not compatible. You're either going to have to do the degree or you're going to work, but you can't do both, right? So when we talk about having this program built for nurses in mind, you can complete the practicum while still being gainfully employed and not have to quit your job to be able to do that. So that's just an example. That's perfect. So you're going to walk away still being able to keep your job, where you're currently employed at in your current role, be able to do this program around your work schedule and your personal life schedule. And you're going to walk away with a resume that you need to be able to get into this field.
Oh, absolutely. That's
there are no steps back, right? Sometimes it's like one step back or two steps forward. This is just one step forward, one step forward, one step forward.
Absolutely. I think that's what I really love about those last two classes. I know that it's a time commitment, and I know that it's still difficult because you're still using probably about 10 hours a week in that practicum if you spread it out through all those weeks. Now, you don't have to do that. You can do 30 hours in a week if you want, if your schedule will allow that, and maybe, a week where you don't have any. But, on average, it's about 10 hours a week, and you really do, you are able to make it work. It is a time commitment for sure, but the project and everything that you are able to do is really that practical application that helps you.
What are some of the projects that you, and I know, again, it's a new program, but what are some projects that people might be looking at? Is there anything, just like a very general idea of what a project might, like what the topics might be?
Well, it may be, because this is informatics, it may be working with, and you may not be with a nurse for this. I want you to be with a nurse informaticist or someone in IT. because you need to access those databases that has that information. And so how are you rebuilding that, working with a vendor to rebuild that in order to give you more information? How are you making that information available to nurses, and what kind of education are you providing to nurses to do that? So you might be coming up with a new transition process, moving a patient through pre-op, operating, post-op recovery, and back to their room. And how is that working? Because maybe that's not a streamlined process in your hospital. So that might be one example of how you might do that. And if it was in the in the second course, then it could be over multiple ORs is really what it could do. Did we lose Tom? Tom, are you there? Okay, I don't know if anyone else is out there. I am going to pause. Tom, are you there? Can you hear me? Did they have you on mute, maybe?
Can you hear me?
I can now, yeah. So.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. Is Ebenezer there?
It is, yes, everything's fine. Yeah, sorry, I just, for whatever reason, my internet cut out. So let's go back. Let me share my screen here. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Hope I didn't miss any fun.
No, I had just finished and I saw it go, so it's okay. It's all good.
There we go.
Okay. Right, so I was just explaining how, when you do your project, you're going to identify a problem along with your preceptor as to what you want to improve, what you want to make better, or maybe a missing piece that you don't have in your analytics, whether it's through an electronic health record or an IT process or whatever it may be. And so you will work with that to hopefully solve some of that or take a piece of that to work towards solution of the problem. So those are the kinds of things that we're looking for when we look for a project.
All right, great. And then career options. So, we talked about this earlier where this is a growing career field like this. There's only going to be more of these jobs moving forward. What are some of the options students might be able to pursue?
Well, one of the ones I wanted to put out there, I mean, they're listed here. And if you're watching and you're participating or you're looking at this later on, you can see what they're listed there. Nurse informaticist is a role in many institutions, and you don't even have to be all that big of an institution anymore to have that role. So, and I think that's really only going to grow. And, there are in the C-suite, we have chief nursing officer, chief executive officers, chief financial officers, and trust me, there is now a chief informatics or technology officer because it's that prevalent. I mean, you just no way to separate it anymore for those kinds of things. I think one of the other things that's not listed here that, or is listed here, we want to expand upon is quality improvement. There is a lot of data in quality improvement. So I know a lot of nurses, after a couple of years at bedside or something like that, move into different roles, and quality improvement is often one. And so this is the whole area of information science. That is actually a science of how we gather information and how we utilize information and how we move through information. So quality improvement can be a key piece there. As I said before, you're going to improve the care of patients and you're going to improve the environment for the nurse as well. So that's a huge piece, I think, that is going to really, really expand under nurse informatics for sure.
And I know that, so, this is a different type of nursing job. And again, I'm going to.
Oh, right. Yeah, true.
Like this is not a correct me if I'm wrong, this is probably not a clinician job, right? Like, are you still working with patients in careers like this, or is this primarily you're kind of behind the scenes?
Well, you're not, I guess I'm going to say you're not behind the scenes because you're really present. You would not be at the bedside, but you would be on the floor. it's very possible for you to be on an inpatient unit, because you've got to understand the process and what is working or not working in order to have an information about it, so that you can alter that, change it, make it better, improve it. And so it's very possible that you could spend some time in clinical areas, but you would not be at the bedside with patients. You may see patients, be around patients, but it's not like you're going to be responsible for patient care. But you do need to understand what nurses are doing. And so when you get if you're working as a nursing informaticist and you get a question like, this is not working, how can we make it better? You need to go and gather your information in order to make it better. And then there will be times, yes, when you are spending time in front of a computer. So this does have a larger amount of time in front of a screen because you're solving those kinds of problems. But yeah, a lot of people actually like that. So that would be the right area for you.
And I know it's kind of a new field, so you might not have an answer to this, but generally, are these career fields that might provide greater flexibility, for meaning like work from home or be able to do parts of the job from home? Like, how might that be impacted?
Absolutely, because it is, you're working with things that are systems that are online, and many of them are not even server-based, they're cloud-based. And so you don't have to be on a campus. You don't have to be present in a room in order to do that. In fact, many like EICUs, so an electronic ICU that gathers data and is often a separate building from where the patient is. And so that is very possible. And the flexibility, certainly. I think every nurse who graduates with a BSN, we're 7 to 3, 7 to 7, 3 to 11, night shift. And so this actually gives the nurse to move out of that and be really maybe some evenings, but mostly day shift, and get out of the weekends and holidays and that kind of thing. So it's a nice option for nurses. It gives you a little bit better of a life-work balance, you might say. And I think all nurses, as much as we enjoy patient care, it is a challenge to, maintain your home life that way, because your hours are sometimes not predictable, or they are shift work kind of thing. So this does give you greater flexibility for sure.
Yeah, there's probably a shelf life for how long you can do that type of work. And you're right. So this allows you to kind of take some of the best parts of your nursing career that you like and enhance it a little bit, and kind of
absolutely.
off into this new part where, I would imagine, again, it's a growing field and probably well compensated.
Yes, this is usually an increase in pay because you are a specialist for sure, and you have responsibilities that are broader rather than responsibilities for patient care. And I'm not downplaying that in any way. Responsibility for patient care is huge. Every nurse will tell you that, but because your span will increase of what you're responsible for, what you're looking at, and how you have to see through a problem, what's happening here, what's happening through the problem, and what happens next. Those kinds of things will make you a specialist and should reward you in pay for sure. Absolutely.
That's great. And then again, we were just kind of talking about this with the job outlook, and it certainly seems like, again, this is a career that will be on the rise. And you look at the nurse informaticist, the reported salary it's pretty lucrative.
Nurses are doing well, and I have to tell you, as a nurse for, let's just say, a number of years, I'm very happy to see that. I really am. Nurses work very hard. Nurses assume a lot of responsibility. We take our jobs, our professional positions very seriously. We are a profession, and I'm very happy to see those kinds of things. I'm sure there are other areas may argue that, but as a nurse, I will always say I think this is a great thing for nurses. You work hard. You are highly educated nurses, and you have spent a lot of time learning the information that you need and building your skill as well as your knowledge base. And so this is important, and I think that I'm always very glad to see these numbers.
Yep, absolutely. And then that brings us to the application and admission process. What are you looking for, Dr. Metzger, for a good qualified applicant?
So what we look for, the process is here. We do have, I think, a streamlined process of application. I don't think it's complicated, and I think it's great. And we have some great people in admissions. Tom, along with a colleague of his, Rachel, is wonderful in helping you through that. So everything is listed here. I look for a BSN college GPA of 3.0 or higher if you're applying into that. Your resume, pick your contacts for your letter of recommendation and your 2 references, so they really can speak about who you are and what your responsibilities have been thus far and your performance and those kinds of things. And if you're coming straight from BSN, talk to those professors who saw you in clinical and some of your senior courses and make them your references for sure. A short statement about your career goals. And then the other thing I'll say is it's a rolling admission. This is like the best part. So you can apply at any time. And as long as we can get you in for the next semester of classes. So like right now, it's June. We're towards the end of June, and I'm still accepting people for the fall. So for the fall of 23, we are still accepting, and I can probably do that till about mid-July. And then I'll have to move it to a spring admission. But you can also apply now, even if you want to come in for the spring. So we just hold that information and plug you in, and sadly or happily, time moves really fast.
Yeah.
So if you want to get those kinds of things in or whatever ahead of time, you certainly can do that. So it is a rolling admission. You can start in a spring semester, a summer semester, or a fall semester. You don't have to start in the summer, but generally we have a couple of classes available that you can get a start in the summer if that's something that you want to do.
Yep. And for anyone who is either attending live or is watching the recording, we will waive the application fee. So just email me or Dr. Metzger, and we will go ahead and waive the $35 application fee for watching this. But again, the application process is simple. And again, just to clarify, it is 1 letter of recommendation is what you need to submit, and then just 2 additional names.
That would be correct.
Yeah, Dr. Metzger to follow up with later. So you're only waiting on 1 letter of rec to actually be written.
I know they take time and people have very busy lives. So the reference, we can always make a phone call, and that's a little bit faster than waiting for someone to write a letter. We can just have a conversation with them. So it's all good.
Yeah, absolutely. And then again, here's Dr. Metzger's contact information. We work for you, and we're happy to do so. So if there's anything we can do to ever help along the way, please do not hesitate to contact us. So I'm just going to go ahead and stop my share. So that is the presentation. Dr. Metzger, what are some of if you had some advice for students who are looking at this program, but they're thinking, you know what, I might also like to go into the nurse practitioner program, or I'm also considering the public health nursing program. Like, what are some of the indicators for a prospective student that this is the right fit? Because you have an array of options from which to choose.
Yeah.
How do you know that this is the right one?
Well, I think one of the questions you have to ask yourself is the idea of data and technology. Does that intrigue you? So if you are someone, and I meet nurses who are right out of school and nurses who have been nurses for 20 or 30 years, but if they like that concept of having data and what does it tell you and what can I get out of it in order to make an improvement in nursing, this is a field for you. If you are a person who likes that technology piece and how do you make the technology work for you and knowledge and skill of a nurse, this is a piece for you. If you like to create, if you are into workflows and you want to improve things and make them more efficient and provide more information for nurses, this is a field for you. So I think some of those kinds of things really come to mind when I talk to people about the program.
Yeah, it seems like this is a field where it's a good fit for people who aspire to assume leadership roles or like looking at the big picture, right? Like it's your kind of zooming out, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you make a really good point there, Tom, about big picture. If you're that kind of person who says, and I equate it to a jigsaw puzzle, I got to see the big picture if you want me to put all these little pieces together. And if you're that person, as soon as you show me the big picture, I know where I'm headed and I can start to do this kinds of things because there is detail involved in this. And so this would be certainly a great option for you. But yeah, once you get into a specialty, you are going to be a leader for sure. And that really comes out in those 2 practicum courses because we're going to put you with leaders. Yeah. That's who your preceptors are going to be. And let me tell you, hospitals, I've had 2 hospitals now before this program even started that said to me, we have preceptors, send me your student.
Right. Well, and
So,
you probably have to assume that upon graduating and assuming a role like this, there's not that many. And like part of the reason why the job market is so strong and so lucrative for this is because there's not a lot of people that can do this. So you probably have to assume that when you take that first job, you might be one of the only people at the hospital that can do this thing. So yeah, the expectation is like it's all eyes are on you saying, hey, look, like, we're looking to you for guidance. We're looking to you for leadership. So that's a really good point.
well, I think that's what you said too about the wave. We're just catching it. Do you know what I mean?
Yes,
So
yes.
it is going to grow. Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
And then my last question before we kind of sign off
Sure.
here is, so we might have some people who are watching who are either currently in their BSN or wrapping up their BSN. With a lot of our graduate nursing programs, there's an expectation that you have completed your BSN, you've worked for X amount of years, and then you can start to, apply for a graduate program for a specialty. Is this program like that? Are you able to jump right into the MSN after completing your BSN?
Absolutely. You can jump right into it. So if this is something that you want to do, or you're thinking that this is what you want to do, it's a great time to apply and keep going because you're going to gain experience while you're working.
Yeah.
So 2 years is going to go by. It's just going to go by. So
Yep.
you can either spend those 2 years working and, growing in your knowledge and skill as a nurse, certainly, or you can take those 2 years growing in knowledge and skill as a nurse and coming back to school so that when you're ready to embark and take that next step, you already have your degree in hand.
Yes.
That's a very smart way to do it, an efficient way to do it. So
Yep.
I wasn't quite that efficient, a little bit, but I didn't make the direct jump. But it was a different time too. But right now it's just a great time for nurses to do that kind of thing.
Yeah. Once you stop taking class, it's like
Yeah.
it's like a muscle. And once you stop working that muscle, it kind of atrophies a little bit. So like once you start or stop taking classes and you get that sense of like, oh, wow, this is what life is like if I weren't taking class, it's really hard to get motivated to want to go back later. So now it's not that it's impossible, but there is a level of convenience to just going all the way through.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, some younger people want to do that because they want families later. And so they want to do this kind of thing and not have to juggle that as much. And so it's a very smart move.
Yep, absolutely. Well, that concludes the event. Thank you so much, Dr. Metzger, and for anyone who's
Thank you.
watching live or watching the recording, we really truly appreciate your time. If there's anything we can do to help, please do not hesitate to contact us. We are happy to help, and we look forward to hearing from everybody in the future. Have a good night.